episode of Not Reap the Spoils. I'm Mark Sullivan.
I'm Delaila Lugo.
Jason Kwasnicki is here.
Yeah, this is gonna be on the Reap the Spoils, like we've done in years past. This is gonna be on the Reap the Spoils feed, but it's not an episode of Reap the Spoils. It is a bonus episode. Year end, we take a break for
because
the month.
We love you that much.
Yeah, we love you. We're taking a break for us, but we're not taking a break from recording for you, the listeners.
We are Reap the Spoiling technically something. It's just not a video game.
If you haven't, it's video game related though.
Yes.
I guess if you haven't watched it yet and you're really planning on going back and watching it, I guess we're gonna spoil the Game Awards 2021 for you.
if Twitter hasn't already.
Yeah. Twitter, YouTube, or Friendster, whatever you're on, talking about the Game Awards. So yeah, this is an episode where we're gonna talk about the Game Awards. Just happened as of this recording less than a week ago. And yeah, we're gonna start off by talking about I would say let's start by talking about the awards themselves. Give them the spotlight that the Game Awards didn't really give them. And then we'll talk about the announcements afterwards, and we'll stick to like the ones that we're actually excited about. There were a lot of game announcements at the Game Awards. I didn't actually tally up how many there are in my list, but there were a lot, and not all of them I personally cared about, and I'm sure it's the same for you guys too.
Yeah.
So let's I guess we'll talk about the actual awards first, and I kind of preluded this by saying like we'll give them the spotlight that the Game Awards didn't really, because Jason, you put it pretty well before we started recording. The awards themselves took up all of about 5 minutes of the show.
Yeah, it was 3 hours and 40 minutes of. Well, they couldn't this year. It wasn't as much American advertisement. This year, it was, if you were paying attention, it was very Chinese heavy. Probably particularly because they veered away from a lot of Activision sponsorship and a lot of Fortnite.
Not only that, but
there was a lot of Tencent. There was a lot of
that's kind of the thing, right? Is Tencent owns a lot.
Yeah,
or they at least have hands in a lot of things. So
like Genshin was everywhere.
What's the company? What's the company that owns League of Legends?
Riot.
Riot, yeah. Riot is funded by Tencent.
Yeah. But also not just Tencent, but a lot of Epic Games and a lot of
Epic Games. Yeah.
Now that they're really big into publishing, they're pushing a game. A few games we'll talk about later. I don't want to give them away quite yet. But yeah, Epic's name is on quite a lot of stuff, and say what you will about them. I mean, they're helping to bring a lot of games out the door, but they're also releasing Final Fantasy VII Remake exclusively on their service and pricing it at $70. That's not just Epic, but there's definitely a deal there. But anyway, yeah, the lot of game announcements and not a whole lot of time spent on the awards themselves, which is a shame because it's the Game Awards. It's not E3 2.0 or Winter E3.
It should also be noted, and maybe this is just me, also being that I'm the only one here that has yet to get a next gen console for practical reasons, and I think I'm actually representative of a majority rather than a minority of gamers on that. I only played one of the Game of the Year nominees, and I think it's telling that as much of an enthusiast as I am, that was the case. And then when you look at the Player Choice Awards, Halo Infinite won, which the campaign hadn't even been released before it was voted on.
Yeah,
which I found,
I
funny.
I guess you could make the argument that speaks a lot to how we've been talking a lot off air about this, and the issues with the multiplayer notwithstanding. A lot of people have been really positive on Halo Infinite's multiplayer.
Yeah. No. That's not. I wasn't saying that to disparage Halo in any way. Although the community, they had their problems. Whatever. I was just surprised that like Halo or even Forza, which was I'm not a racing game guy, but I was seeing Forza was getting like 10s out of 10s across the board.
Yeah,
I was surprised to see that didn't get nominated for Game of the Year.
Yeah, that was a big thing. Sorry, Delaila, go ahead.
No, I was gonna say, I think it was like came out too late, like past the cutoff or something like that.
No, because I mean, for it to be nominated for anything, and we'll talk about it, but Forza did win a couple awards.
Oh yeah, the sports award. Yeah, you're right.
Yeah, well, and best audio design. I guess we'll start this off by talking about Forza. Yeah, Forza Horizon 5 did win best audio design, best sports/racing game, and innovation in accessibility.
Dope. Yeah, it's a lot.
So it won 3 awards, but it wasn't nominated for Game of the Year, and a lot of people were really mad about that. In the lead up to, you know, a post nomination announcement and up to the award show, there was a lot of heated debate online about Forza Horizon 5 not getting a Game of the Year nomination.
Yeah, at least the nomination. I mean, when it comes to the winner, and we'll talk about it. It seems to me, I haven't played it, I can't judge it. It seems to me you either played it and you're like, okay, that I could see that deserving it, but there aren't that many people who played it, and the metrics kind of bear that out in terms of Steam
I
numbers
wouldn't
and
say
whatnot.
that. We'll talk
Like
about
it,
that.
yeah,
We'll talk about that when
yeah.
we get to that topic, because I very much, I mean, the winner of the big kahuna, the winner of the big award was the game that I voted for, and
Same.
I did not expect it to win, because we're jumping ahead. I
Probably,
didn't
yeah,
expect it to
probably.
I
win.
just
Let's
one
talk
thing
about
that I
that
want
later.
to say about
Okay, go ahead,
like what
Delilah.
you mentioned about like Forza winning all those awards but not winning Game of the Year. The fact that Resident Evil Village was nominated for Game of the Year and won 0 awards and was barely nominated for anything just seems so. It doesn't make
Yeah,
sense.
Not Go
And
ahead,
I
I'll
love
jump
that
in.
game.
the only reason I brought up now the Game of the Year winner, and then the Forza and the Halo and all that was
Mhm.
going into what Delilah just said. The Game of the Year awards have slowly been becoming more and more like there are memes about the winners versus the Players' Choice, whatnot. And this year seemed to almost the show itself was like a meme in and of itself of the disconnect between players and the awards and the ceremony and what's going on and the advertisements and the nepotism
And
between
also,
creators seems to even make that worse. It's like full on display.
yeah, and it also speaks to access because like Forza and Halo were both games that were available on Game Pass, so more people were able to play those games without having to pay extra money. And games like that are on the PS5, like Deathloop and Ratchet and Clank, not that many people are able to play because they don't even have PS5s. So yeah, there is a huge disconnect in multiple avenues.
Yeah. And with Halo being the players voice award. Sorry, while you guys were talking, I was also pulling up the list of nominees so that we can speak to the nominees as well as the winners. Speaking on Halo as the player's voice, you know, that's not limited to a jury picking nominations, right? They just pick a shit ton of games, and it's entirely player voted across 3 rounds. So people vote and they eliminate the least amount of voted games from that list, and then they vote again on like a smaller list, and then they vote again on an even smaller list until they get the most voted game. And I guess for that they just pick any game that's come out, you know, before that date, versus actually having the jury's cutoff of game had to have been released before this time to be eligible for this year. So Halo Infinite, like overall, it wasn't nominated for anything this year because it came out after the so-called cutoff. But next year it'll be up for consideration.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, when it comes to Forza, like I wouldn't have an issue if a racing game was uh was nominated for Game of the Year if that racing game is superbly innovative. And from what I understand, Forza Horizon 5 is just more Forza Horizon, but it still improves upon that formula and is just a really, really good, competent racing game. So, like, should it have been nominated for Game of the Year? I would maybe. I mean, I haven't played Forza Horizon 5, but I also wasn't very big on Resident Evil Village, and at the end
Yeah,
of the
I don't
day,
think
and I don't
any
know
of
that I
us
would have
were
nominated that either. What was that?
go. I think I said I don't think any of us were terribly big on it.
I it's
Go watch our discussion for further info.
Yeah, go
it's
listen to our
definitely
episode.
one of my favorite games this year, but I wouldn't categorize it as a Game of the Year nominee at all.
Yeah, no,
Let's
neither would I.
Yeah, my top 3 games this year, it did not include Resident Evil Village, and one of my top 3 games this year didn't even get nominated for Game of the Year, and we'll talk about that when we
Same.
talk about what this game did win. But anyway, yeah, moving along. We talked about Forza Horizon 5. Games for Impact, it's an award I really like. Life is Strange, True Colors. Did either of you play that?
No, I didn't play any of the games in this category, which is like shame on me.
Okay.
But I voted for Life is Strange because I feel like those games tend to do that, have an impact.
Sure, yeah. I think I voted for Chicory because that's of all those games, that's the one game on that list that I really actually really want to play. And
Hmm.
my understanding of that game is it kind of takes like a classic Zelda formula and focuses it on an artist, like a struggling artist, and
Oh.
kind of puts like a cute filter over it where you play as a dog that you name yourself. And yeah, it looks like a very charming game, and it made a splash when it came out. I it's the one game on that was nominated for that award that I actually really want to play. So,
Hmm.
but yeah, not really much else to say about that award. I am happy that they kept that award.
Yeah.
Um, best okay, so best debut indie game and best indie game. So both of those awards were won by the same game. Kena Bridge of Spirits. I know Delilah, you and I played this game.
Yeah, it's
How did you feel
definitely
about it?
deserving. It's funny
Okay.
because I voted for Death's Door as the best indie game, but Kena for debut. But then
Hmm.
after I played Kena on Master, I was like, actually, I probably vote for that for both. I would
Really?
like renege my vote. Yeah, I think so. I
Wow.
think just Kena, like the more I played it, the more I liked it. And usually games have the opposite effect on me, where the more I play it, the less I like it.
Yeah.
I was confused
I
by this one. I thought Sony published this game.
No.
It was just
Technically
like
not.
it was only on. It was a console exclusive. I think that's all.
Yeah, and I think it was actually self. Here, I'm gonna fact check myself on that, but I believe, yeah, it was self-published by Ember Lab. But there was a deal to. I don't even know if it was a deal. They might have just decided to develop it only for PlayStation and PC.
Maybe, I don't
Uh,
know.
Maybe it'll come to Xbox. It's not as easy as everyone thinks to just like develop for multiple systems, especially not for a small team. Ember Lab, the only thing they had done prior to this, as far as I remember, is a Majora's Mask fan video.
Oh,
Um, so and they like have an animation background, and it shows. Kane is a really really beautiful game. Um, I actually I playing through on Master, Delilah, I was actually more down on the game on that second playthrough than I was higher on it. Just because the parrying system in that game does not work as well as it should.
yeah.
And
I didn't use pairing that much. That is one of the worst mechanics in that game.
yeah,
You're right.
it's just with a little bit of like otherwise the combat is great. It's just with a little bit more refinement, having parrying being such a central mechanic, it definitely needed to have a little bit more fine tuning. But it was a fun
Yeah.
game. I was happy to see them win both of those awards for sure. Um Delilah, you were actually wrong. Resident Evil Village did, well, not the game, but
Oh, the
Maggie
actress.
Robertson won best performance.
Yeah, but
And
that's
damn
her.
that dress.
She was trying to channel all the Lady Demetresque
Yeah,
vibes.
really. She really was. Yeah, that dress was very low cut. Um
She's like, "That's the scariest walk I ever did." I'm like, "Don't worry, nobody's looking at your walk."
Yeah, no.
Delilah, since you're the only person on this episode that or on the show that played two of the other games that were nominated, Giancarlo Esposito was nominated. So was Jason E. Kelly for his performance as Colt in Deathloop, and Ozzy Oyama Akaga.
Zoima.
Sorry for butchering that name. As Juliana in Deathloop. Would you say you agree with Maggie winning?
I don't disagree with it. I
Okay.
definitely was torn between Maggie, the person who played Colt, and the person who played Juliana. I think I landed on Colt. That was my vote simply because he had more lines than either of them. Uh,
Okay.
Lady Demetres was barely in the game, and
Yeah.
Juliana was in the game, but like not as much as Colt. And I liked all three of them a lot. But what set Colt above is just how many lines he had and how immediately I felt connected to him.
Right. Okay. But yeah, still very really happy for like what little of Lady Dimitrescu was in the game. It was still a great performance and a great character.
Yeah.
It's no wonder that so many people voted for her, and when the game came out, the internet was set aflame for her.
Yeah. She also seems like a really cool lady
Yeah,
based on
yeah,
her
she
on
does.
stage
Very,
presence.
very down to earth. Yeah.
Yeah.
And I've seen even like there's been like I've seen videos like floating around of her on like live streams talking, and she does seem really cool. So congrats to Maggie, and
Yeah.
congrats to all the winners. The ones that we've already mentioned and the ones that we have yet to mention, including
Mhm.
this next one, the game that got the second most snubbing, I'd say, in terms of winning, Returnal, best action game, not nominated for Game of the Year.
You
That's
know,
bullshit.
I'm very salty about that. I think Returnal should have won not only Game of the Year, but Best Sound Design, or
Yeah,
nominated at least for Best Sound Design and
it
Music
was.
Score.
It was nominated for best audio
Right,
design. It didn't win to Forza Horizon 5. And I was,
right.
I again, I haven't played Forza Horizon 5, but
Yeah, same.
Returnal's audio design is amazing.
Yeah, it's
It's really,
phenomenal.
really good.
Especially with the 3D audio headset, which again, if you don't have a PS5, you couldn't play this game, and if you don't have a PS5, you don't have a 3D audio headset. But the 3D audio with the DualSense, it feels so new generation, and not many games did that. Like Ratchet did it, but not as good.
Yeah, no, Returnal. I'm really happy it won best action game. It breaks my heart that it wasn't nominated for Game of the Year. I
Yeah,
feel like it should have gotten a nomination over Resident Evil for sure.
100 over
Um,
Resident Evil, over Ratchet and Clank. I think. Like, although I
yeah,
love that game, it just felt like another prettier Ratchet and Clank game.
Well, from my understanding, again, I haven't played Returnal. From my understanding, though, it's far more focused on the actual gameplay rather than narrative. I mean, there is a narrative, but that's not the core of the game. Am I correct?
yeah,
Yeah,
Hmm.
that's why it
yeah.
didn't get
I would
nominated
say
for Game
so.
of the Year.
I think the narrative though is.
I mean,
Uh,
you have to take into account the biases of the assuming
Well, but you
it
also,
works exactly
I
as
feel
it's
like
outlined with this panel that consists of a lot of journalists and a lot of
but I feel like that I don't agree with that because Metroid Dread was nominated for Game of the Year, and that's also a game lots of lore, and there is a plot there, but there's also a plot in Returnal, and there's lots of lore in Returnal. It's Returnal is almost it's a roguelike,
it's a
but
Metroid game.
yeah,
yeah,
it almost is, right?
it's the token Nintendo game that gets nominated. Like,
And not to say Metroid Dread didn't deserve that nomination, but I feel that to make that argument for why Returnal didn't get nominated, the same could be said about Metroid, and Metroid did. So I don't know that I
Also,
buy into that.
it
I'm just
takes
looking
two.
at the
Oh, I know,
I'm just like it's I'm not saying that's how it is. I'm just saying that would be my guess. It's just the biases of the people who are selecting, and those are the games that they tend to lavish praise upon, are the ones that are a bit more accessible and more narrative focused.
Yeah.
Not,
what were you gonna ask?
not to lean too heavily into the journalist can't play games meme.
Yeah,
Yeah, I
we're
think
not here
there's
to do that.
a level of just that game not being something that everyone could get through.
And personally, that's what I think it comes down to is when that game came out, there was a lot the difficulty conversation came back up, right? And with Returnal coming out, there's no difficulty setting. It's a very challenging game. So a lot of people were saying, "Oh, this game should have an easy mode," and that every time that conversation comes up, it becomes a bigger debate of should all games be made for everyone. And I don't know that I necessarily agree that they should be because or not necessarily they shouldn't be for everyone, but to eliminate challenge from a video game, I feel takes away a lot of the allure of video games.
Certain
To make
games,
every
yeah.
game, yeah, to make every single game, not all like you know this doesn't apply to all games, but to make every single game have an easy mode, right? And that's how everyone can experience that game. Well, to eliminate challenge, I don't know, it's removing one of the most core things to playing video games, and that's triumph, uh
Yeah.
beating something that's been challenging you and
Yeah, the
and
satisfaction you
conquering
get
it.
from that. Yeah,
It's
Right.
honestly It's honestly a topic that I can go on about, but I'll just
Yeah,
say that, like, I think more games need to be accessible, but if the core design of a video game is the challenge, then I feel like if you want an easy mode, you don't wanna play that game, you know?
and I'll agree with that. Like I don't get me wrong, I do think that everybody should be empowered. Everybody should be empowered to play whatever game they want, but it shouldn't come down to the difficulty of that game, right?
And
It should
difficulty
come
and accessibility are 2 completely
Yeah.
different things, by the way.
Yes, they are. Absolutely. I 100% agree with that. Um like frankly, it comes down to just providing customizable controls and I mean look at what Xbox did years ago where they put out an accessibility controller. And as long as a game allows you to like remap your controls so it's more comfortable, you're more able to play it on whatever device it's better for you to input on, then I think the difficulty is negligible. It all comes down to just empowering the player to overcome the odds. And I
Yeah.
think that's where the conversation should shift, but it never does. It always comes down to this game is too hard. I don't. It's a bad game or
Yeah.
something similar. And that being said, yeah, Returnal. I almost quit Returnal. Like it was a really hard game, and it wasn't clicking for hours. And then once it clicked, it became a game of the year contender for me.
Yeah.
It's on my top 3 games of the year. It's my third favorite. To be frank, so yeah, like it's a great game, and I'm happy it won Best Action Game. I'm disappointed it didn't get nominated for Game of the Year or win anything else.
Yeah. It's my first
Um,
favorite game.
yeah, oh, okay, there you go. Delilah's Game of the Year. Um, let's skip this award real quick. Let's go to some of the ones that only won one thing. Best role playing game was Tales of Arise. I don't think any of us have played any of the role. Oh no, Delilah and I played one of the role playing game contenders.
Yeah,
Um,
which I honestly voted for Cyberpunk. I really love that game, despite its
oh,
issues.
I wasn't even thinking of Cyberpunk. I
Oh,
was
you think
thinking
of
of Scarlet.
Near Replicant, right?
No. Scarlet Nexus. Near Replicant. First of
Oh,
all, if Near Replicant was voted for best role playing game, that would have
that would have
I
been
would have
it.
yelled at you if you didn't vote for it. I would have been so upset
I
with
would
you.
have voted for Cyberpunk over Near
Oh,
Replicant, to be honest.
you're
What?
killing me. Delilah, sorry guys, I regret to inform you this is Delilah's last episode. Everyone send her best wishes. No, I'm just
You're
kidding.
fired.
Um, yeah, like I don't even remember what I voted for with this. It might have been Shin Megami Tensei 5. Definitely not.
Mm,
I like Scarlet Nexus, but
no.
it wasn't groundbreaking in the way that a lot of people were kind of making it out to be. I feel like that game just came out at the right time, a kind of a lull in the summer.
Yeah.
And it was a really fun action RPG, but I wouldn't call it the best of the year. Tales of Arise, I didn't care much for the demo. But obviously I'm in the minority. A lot of people really loved that game.
Hmm. I didn't play it.
So yeah, the demo was fun. It's just I don't know. It wasn't clicking with me very well. Speaking of Nier, though, Nier Replicant did win Best Score / Music, and that's the only award I cared about. Like, or really, not the only one. Sorry, the
Wait a
main
minute. How
award
is
that I
it?
cared about
How is it eligible for that and then
because
didn't get
because
nominated
in
for RPG?
because in spite of being a remaster, the best because it was a remaster, so it didn't like
Oh, okay,
the
okay.
game didn't come out like this year, but the music was redone, reorchestrated, and new tracks. So like I could see why the game wasn't eligible for awards, but the soundtrack was eligible for best score
All
/
right, that's
music.
fair enough. Yeah.
I
And
voted for
yeah,
this too, but honestly, I think Returnal should have been nominated for this
for
category.
music,
Yeah.
really? Oh, okay.
Yeah, the freaking
It's because
music
of
and the boss fights and
no, it's
they're
I
so
know
good. I love synthwave shit, so
I know why you're voting for it. It's because of that Blue Oyster Cult song. Because Don't Fear the Reapers in the Sea.
no, that I don't even like honestly that's why I wouldn't vote for Guardians of the Galaxy cuz I just can't do licensed songs in
Yeah.
games. Like I feel like I always appreciate like original music more.
Yeah, me too. But yeah, Near Replicant, my the biggest award that I cared about winning best music, and it won it. I was so happy.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, best mobile game went to, and I'm trying to remember exactly what the announcer said. Or it was like Genshin Impact.
Genshin.
No, she said Genshin Impact.
No, I know, but Genshin, yeah.
Yeah, I know how it's
Yeah.
pronounced. She didn't. That's my point.
Yeah.
I found that really funny. It was a shame to see that win over something like Fantasian.
I don't even
Uh,
know what that is.
Fantasian is the new game from Mistwalker, Hironobu Sakaguchi's studio, the creator of Final Fantasy.
Mm.
I haven't actually told you, Jason. I did start playing that, and it's good.
Good.
It's very
I'm glad. I wish I
it's
could
very
play
old
it.
school. Buy an iPhone.
No,
Is
never.
it
Buy an
exclusive to
iPhone.
Apple?
Yeah,
But you,
it's on Apple Arcade. So,
but you know why Genshin got it, right?
I mean,
It's it's a 10-cent game.
I
No,
would
I'm not kidding.
hearken it.
That's
I
why.
would hearken it more. No.
It is really popular.
Let's take off the tinfoil hats. Like Genshin's not a bad game. It obviously it wouldn't have the big player base that it does if it weren't. It is really impressive that the reach that game has gotten in the span of a year. Being a console level video game that's also a free to play gotcha game, and it's playable on
No, I've played it.
on your mobile phone and on your PC. And like gotcha games aren't for everybody, right? But like it is a competent gotcha game, and I'm not surprised that like people still would have voted for that, in spite of your conspiracy theorism.
No, it's not even. Like I agree with what you just said. Like it does have a very large player base. Granted, a lot of that player base are young kids who are stealing their parents' credit cards because it's a
I mean
very the art
and
style is very appealing, and it's also it also has a very large foreign player base as well. It pierces a much broader audience than say something like Destiny.
Yeah, it's a huge game worldwide. You know,
Yeah.
I wouldn't be surprised if those numbers are not as high as Fortnite, but close. You know, it has that widespread appeal.
Mm-hmm.
Best
Also, being a
narrative,
native Chinese game, it's very popular in China, which
yeah,
has a lot of fucking people. Yeah.
yeah, but unfortunately, young kids can only play for what is it, like 3 hours
Oh
a
yeah, I
week?
forgot about that. They limited gaming. Yeah.
Yeah, feel sorry for all the young kids in China. Best narrative went to Marvel's Guardians of the Galaxy. Delilah, you can attest to this?
Yeah, that
Was
was
it
a really
warranted?
good narrative. Did I vote
Okay.
for that? What were the other nominees? I
The
forget.
nominees for Best Narrative were Guardians of the Galaxy, Deathloop, It Takes Two, Life is Strange: True Colors, and Psychonauts 2.
I think I would have voted for Psychonauts just because of how the gameplay is woven into the narrative. But like Guardians had a good story. It was just like a Marvel story, you know. Like the
Yeah,
dialogue was really good. I give it to that. But I didn't feel like narratively it was anything like
and
wow.
I feel like
You know?
that's what it came down to, is not so much the narrative, but the writing. The writing in that
The
game,
writing
from
was
what I
really
hear,
good.
was very spectacular,
Yeah.
and that's probably what pushed it. I voted for Psychonauts 2 as well. We'll talk more about that when we get to the end, I would say. Yeah. Actually, no, we could talk about it now, because Psychonauts 2 got snubbed big time. The biggest snub of the Game Awards, I'd say, was Psychonauts 2 got nominated for a lot of things and won absolutely nothing.
It definitely should have won Best Art Design, in my opinion.
Yeah, and we'll talk about that when we get to
Which
when we
one?
when we
Which
get
one
to
ended
that.
up winning art design? I
We'll
forget.
all right, we can talk about it now.
Deathloop.
Best art direction, and best game direction went to Deathloop.
Why did? All right. I didn't play the game, so I can't judge it. But from everybody I know in my personal life, aside from you guys I talked to, it's like a meh game, and yet like they seem fucking dead set on giving it something and
Listen,
nominating it for it as much as they could.
Deathloop, very innovative. I've never played a game like that before. And it has a lot of style, like just the font, the color scheme, the outfits of the characters.
And
But in terms of
to its
art, I would still
I don't
give it
know,
to
because to its credit, like the art direction and like the trailers and the reveal and everything leading up to that game, the art direction is what was most selling me on that game. I really liked its very 1960s aesthetic. like almost discotheque like aesthetic that game was pushing. Was really into that, and even the art style, the kind of stylized. It's not quite cell shading. I don't really know how to describe it, but
It's
I
it's very inspired by the blaxploitation comics and movies of the
yeah,
1970s. Yeah,
and yeah, and I find that really appealing. It does it that was what sold me most on the game. I don't really care about the time looping or even the characters. The premise for what over a year since we saw that game and we're waiting for it to come out, and it was there was a trailer that was required to be at basically every fucking press event we saw. You could be watching a Nintendo Direct and there would be a fucking Deathloop trailer for PlayStation 5. Um,
Surprised there
because it was
wasn't a
just
Deathloop trailer at the Game Awards.
yeah,
Actually,
really.
there was, if you think about it.
Well, yeah, I guess so, but
The little intro.
um that's kind of the thing, right? Like that game had like a pretty cool aesthetic, but like in terms of art direction, yeah, Psychonauts 2 had a much better art direction total, because like it permeated throughout the entire game. It wasn't just in trailers. It was that game, and that game's art direction is it's freaky and might turn some people off, but I mean I love it. I mean
It
obviously
reminds
go
me
listen
of
to our
like a 90s cartoon.
mm-hmm. Yeah, go
Like
listen to our
like Hey
Psychonauts
Arnold or like Ah Real Monsters kind of
or
aesthetic.
Invader Zim.
Yeah.
Like
Well,
yeah.
go listen to our
That's why I would have to agree with Mark in that if when I was watching like gameplay footage of Deathloop, it looked like I could have just been watching Borderlands or another one of that studio's games,
Dishonored, but with
Dishonored. Yeah,
yeah.
exactly. As opposed to Psychonauts, where the actual gameplay looks like what you just said, Delilah, 90s
Mhm.
cartoon.
yeah.
Yeah, so and I like I said, I still really liked the art direction of Deathloop, but yeah, Psychonauts, I would have given it to Psychonauts too. And game direction, the other nominees for game direction were It Takes Two, Psychonauts 2, Ratchet and Clank Rift Apart, and Returnal. I think I voted for Returnal on that,
Same. But
and
I understand Deathloop winning for sure.
okay,
I think it did have a good game direction because it was once again innovative, but I feel like in the end when you actually go through it, there wasn't as much autonomy as I wanted there to be. And that was
yeah,
disappointing.
yeah. And to go back to what you were saying, Jason, like I feel like that game when it came out, everyone was super high on it, and then maybe a week or two later, that's when the criticism started piling in, and people started being more and more down on that game, likely as a response to how much praise the game was getting. I think it was just a vocal group leading to another really vocal group, and like the game isn't necessarily bad
I
so
wasn't
much
even
as
talking. I haven't even looked at what the
oh I
conversation's
thought
like
you had
online.
said that I thought
I
you had
just
said
meant
other people
in
that
my personal life, like talking to my brother who played it.
yeah
Mm.
yeah yeah
He's like, dude, this gunplay sucks. The gameplay mechanics of the time travel stuff. It's like you're just there's no like choice in it. You're just putting it together the way it wants you to put it together. It's not that it's meh, and the story is nothing
Yeah.
really.
okay. I did hear the well, we won't spoil, but I did hear that the ending is super disappointing. But again, won't get into it. We're not here to spoil Deathloop. We're here to spoil the Game Awards 2021. Best action adventure game went to Metroid Dread,
I could see
not
that.
Psychonauts 2.
I voted for Psychonauts too. I also haven't finished Metroid Dread, but I
Mm.
can definitely see that because of the puzzles.
Yeah, and I'm happy for Metroid winning. Because people waited so long for another 2D Metroid. I'm glad that I mean it definitely did make a big splash with fans, and um I'm happy that it did get some recognition here.
And in that Metroid tradition, it didn't sell well, so we won't get another one for a while,
No, it did
folks.
it did sell well.
No,
It's the yes, it did.
dude, it didn't even hit a million units.
I'm pretty sure it did.
I'm
Hold
pretty
on,
sure
we're
it was
gonna
like
have to fact check live.
700,000 or something like that. I could be wrong. You
We're
might be
gonna
right, but
we're gonna fact
last
check
I
live.
checked, it was like 700,000 units or something like that.
Sorry for the silence. We're fact checking. Yeah, because
And by the way, I
I'm
love
pretty sure
Metroid, folks. I bemoan the fact it
yeah,
doesn't
and
sell
like
well.
I know what you're saying. Like that's kind of the thing with Metroid games and why it's kind of one of those dormant franchises because it doesn't
It's like
sell
Star
typically
Fox.
well. well, Star Fox has a whole nother slew of issues because usually when a Metroid game comes out, well, not in the last a few years, but um,
Yeah, at least the Metroid games have consistent quality. Yeah.
yeah. So Matt Piscatella on December 13th tweeted, so yep, Metroid Dread did just fine in month 2 for those wondering. Number 11 on the Nintendo charts after a huge month 1, and in the mix with a bunch of massive Nintendo Evergreen titles, some that were even price promoted.
Yeah, but that's
I'm
just
trying to find
rankings. What's the actual number of units?
I'm trying to find that, but it's still when you're that high in the rankings amongst all the other games that are on there, like you're selling well. It was the top selling Switch game of the month of October, so
Well, yeah,
yeah,
'cause it's a new
I'm
game.
not gonna keep fact checking this. If you care enough, leave us a comment letting us know how
Yeah,
much.
comment and let us know how much it sold because I'm going off what I heard a few weeks after its release that it didn't hit a million units and was a
Yeah, but
disappointment.
hitting a million units isn't necessarily like that doesn't matter as much to me as I feel like it matters to you. I don't think that matters as much as it
No,
does at
I'm
all.
just saying from Nintendo's perspective. That's generally why they don't come
Well, from
out as
Nintendo's
many.
perspective, this was a huge success. We don't I don't want to keep doing this. We can stop
Okay,
here. We're taking too
sure.
much time to talk about this. Um okay. I'm happy for Metroid Dread. The next thing that I cared a lot about was best ongoing game and best community support because it's the only two things that Final Fantasy XIV get nominated for, and it actually won this year.
That's great.
Yeah,
Hmm.
I well deserved. Jason and I can definitely attest to that. That game is stellar and is just getting better and better.
I think anything beating Fortnite is nice simply because Fortnite constantly has updates and has all these licenses, so that just speaks a lot.
Yeah,
Plus, so many people are feeling this Endwalker stuff. I mean, you guys are going off in the chat about it like every second. I feel like left out.
I actually as right now as of today I beat it this morning and it was very very good and I can't wait to talk to Jason about it. Um, yeah, very 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 good game and I'm very happy that it won because those are the only two things that it ever gets out nominated for and it always loses.
Mhm.
So finally, for it to win best ongoing game and best community support, very very happy to see it finally happen. Um, best, I we don't care about esports. I doubt our listeners really care about
No.
esports. The only one that I have here is the best esports game, which is League of Legends. Can we move on?
Yeah.
Great. Best fighting game, Guilty Gear Strive. I did hear that's really good. And I'll also say this is where Geoff started to really rapid fire awards,
Mhm. He did like
where he
6
was
back to back.
yeah, and not give anyone a chance to like go up on stage and accept the award and talk about it. No, he was just there like, okay, we're just gonna go through a bunch. Best fighting game. The nominees were, and he just had them up on the screen in text. He didn't read them out. He just said the nominees are, and then 3 seconds of silence, and then and the winner is, and he did this for best fighting game, which was Guilty Gear Strive. None, I don't think any of us have played that. Congrats to that. Best sim/strategy game, Age of Empires 4, and granted, these aren't the most popular of awards, but still, like, give them their moment in the spotlight more
Yeah.
than like you're an award
More
Yeah,
show.
than the advertisements.
they do have very passionate communities and pretty sizable ones within that are sub within the larger gaming community. So like
Yeah,
if you're going to profess to be a representative of, the game community, you should probably acknowledge that fact that those big sub communities that are very passionate about fighting games and I'm sorry, not role playing, RTSs exist.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, really. I mean, a ton of RTS games come out every year, and they're not, it's not the most popular genre, so we don't hear about them as much. But like, it's still a really like a lot of people do play them, and a lot of them do come out. Um, but yeah, there was also for best VR and AR game, Resident Evil 4 VR won. To no one's surprise,
Mhm.
I don't think many people had heard of the other VR games that were up for nomination. And I did play a little bit of this. It is really cool. I just hate that it's stuck in Facebook jail.
Mm.
I'm not buying an Oculus just to play Resident Evil 4 in VR. port that to everything else, please. There's no reason that Facebook helped develop and set it up, and I think that's kind of why it's exclusive to the Oculus Quest. Which is a shame because
Yeah,
port that to everything else, please. Maybe
definitely.
PSVR 2 it'll launch on. I would love to
Mm,
see that, but
that'd be cool.
yeah. Um, Most anticipated game. Before we talk about the most anticipated game that was voted, what is your guys' most anticipated game?
It's Elden Ring.
You think it's Elden Ring? Okay.
For me,
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah, I'd probably have to agree with that. With what we have, I
I'm
mean,
not even asking based on what was nominated. I'm asking just in general games we
if
know that are coming up.
if we had a date for Final Fantasy 16, something solid, I would say that. But as of right now, Elden Ring.
Yeah, I
Okay.
mean, I would say this list, like all these games are very neck and neck for me. The ones that were nominated, whether they were nominated or not, probably would have been my picks.
Yeah, I'm trying to. Okay, the nominations for most anticipated game were Elden Ring, God of War Ragnarok, Horizon Forbidden West, Breath of the Wild sequel, and Starfield. And yeah, of those,
It's
I would
still
definitely go.
there's still a
Huh?
placeholder. They don't have a name for it.
No, they won't reveal the name because it's apparently a spoiler.
Okay.
Which eventually they're gonna have to reveal the name. So, like, I guess they're
Mm.
waiting for a big blowout reveal, and the reveal of the trailer will show that spoiler alongside the title of the game. I don't know, but of those, yeah, I would say Elden Ring is my most anticipated. But I do contrast to Jason, Final Fantasy 16 is my most anticipated game.
No, no. Final Fantasy 16 is my most anticipated game.
Yeah.
It's just
I
we
just
don't.
don't I don't care if there's a date or not. I don't care if all we have to go off of is a website and one single trailer. Like that's my most anticipated game.
Hmm.
Um and it's really sad to see like the subreddit having frequent meltdowns because we haven't gotten news, and we were supposed to get a news drop in 2021, and it's at the time of recording it's
Yeah,
December
pay
14th.
attention to what's going on with Endwalker right now. I think he's got his hands full right now.
Yeah, when you consider who's working on that game and what just came out, you'll understand why there might not be an update on Final Fantasy 16 yet. But in the meantime, go play Final Fantasy 14 Endwalker because it's amazing. Um, yeah. So that leaves us with three more awards. Sorry, all going to the same game. Uh, Best multiplayer game, best family game, and game of the year went to It Takes Two. How do we feel about It Takes Two winning game of the year?
Didn't
I-
play it, can't comment. All I know is that it's the guy that said "fuck the Oscars."
It's definitely one of the best cooperative experiences I've ever had. I liked it more than A Way Out. It's up there with like Portal games
Oh
for
yeah.
cooperative experiences. It had a mishmash of so many different game mechanics, and it didn't feel like sloppy or out of place. Like every kind of game mechanic felt fitting for the moment that it was in. The only thing about It Takes Two that I didn't like is the narrative. I felt like it was very safe and surface level.
Yeah. Um I'll agree. I'll agree with pretty much all of that. I'll It Takes Two is not a family game. It's
Yeah,
not a
it's
Isn't it
more
family
like
about
game.
a
fucking divorce?
It's about divorce. It's not a family game.
yeah.
It's about a married couple that are deciding to get divorced, and a magical book uh transfigures them into two toy dolls made by their daughter and tries to get them to rekindle their marriage.
Do
It
they?
is
Yeah.
that is well, I'm not spoiling. We're not spoiling
Oh,
It
okay,
Takes Two.
okay.
We're not
Because I was gonna
you go
say
play it.
if they did get back together, I could see it being a family game. But
No, but even so, like that's not subject matter that I would call ooh family fun. And while like the reason it got that nomination is because it you play as two toys in a very fantastical toyish land because all the levels are made up of like household objects and outdoorsy locations, transfigured into video game level designs. um and it's all super like Delilah said. I echo this wholeheartedly. Like it has so many different mechanics. Each level, every 20 to 30 minutes, it's throwing something new at you, and none of them feel half baked. They
Yeah.
are just simple enough, but so intuitive
Yeah, and
to make it fresh. Go
that
ahead.
level of simplicity is why I could see it was voted for family, simply because like a kid could play it with like their mom or their dad, or like you could play it with like a 10-year-old and it'll be like a fun experience. You don't necessarily have to play it with like your partner or like someone
Right.
you're
Yeah.
interested in. Although I do think that's the ideal way to play it.
I agree.
It's not, you can still play it with like a kid because it's so simple. But there is a specific scene that I won't spoil in there that is not kid friendly.
Yeah. It's
Not
Okay.
at all. Yeah.
it's a bizarre it was a bizarre choice to be nominated, but best multiplayer I voted for it, and game of the year I voted for it, and I could not be happier that it won because I didn't expect it. I genuinely figured that, looking at the nominees, it was going to go to the most AAA of them all, which was probably Deathloop. Of the bunch, I thought it was going to go to Deathloop,
I thought it was going
especially
to be
because
Deathloop
Deathloop.
too.
Yeah, especially because Deathloop won best game direction. I really thought it was going to be them.
Well, I'm glad
Um,
it didn't though, because the Deathloop servers, like, you couldn't find someone to invade your game like a few weeks after the game released. It took
yeah,
forever.
but
Well,
yeah,
this brings me back to the beginning where I was switching between different streams of YouTubers who were streaming the Game Awards and listening to their commentary while I was watching it. And in literally every chat, when It Takes Two won the Game of the Year, the entire comment sections were like, "What the fuck? What is this game?" And even some of the
yeah.
commentators were like, "What is this game?" And one of them went to the Steam charts, and it was like 500 people are playing this game right now. Like,
Well, because it's a co-op narrative game. It's not like the kind of thing. It's
yeah,
it's the
like
kind of game where you play it, you beat it, and then you put it away. It's not the game that you keep going back to.
I'm not saying that that means anything regarding the game's quality. All I'm saying is I've found it funny. It's almost like a movie like what's a recent one that was very obscure? Didn't The Shape of Water win Best Picture at the Oscars?
Yeah.
Yeah, like nobody fucking saw The Shape of Water. I'm sorry. Like I know
Yeah,
there are
but
a lot of
but
Guillermo del
that's the
Toro
thing
fans out
is,
there, but like
I mean, it comes back to the sales discussion with Metroid Dread.
yeah,
Who cares? It doesn't matter. And also, I question the if there's people streaming the game awards, if there's like big time streamers or YouTubers or whatever that are streaming and watching the game of the awards or the game awards, and It Takes Two wins something and they don't know what that is. How do you not know what that is? How do you I
Because
know there's a lot of games out there.
most
I
of
know
them
there's a
play
lot.
like Apex or Fortnite
no,
or
no, no,
Right.
I'm not talking about Twitch. I'm talking about YouTube. These are like
I said both. I mean,
These are like Final Fantasy 14 streamers. But
okay, well, here's the thing about Final Fantasy 14 players. A lot of them don't play any other game, so
no, like general JRPG channels, a variety of different channels,
still,
shooter
my
channels, Halo
point my
channels,
point being my
Destiny.
point being is they stick to that niche and they don't diversify. They don't go out and look at anything. So to like, I don't know, to look at It Takes Two winning and be like, what the hell is that? I don't even know what that is. Well, that says more about them than it does about the game. That's my opinion.
Again, I
But
my point wasn't to
oh, I
besmirch the
know, I
quality
know
of the
you're
game.
not. I know.
no, you're right. It wasn't very popular.
My only point is the Game Awards to me seems to be skewing very much in a direction that the Oscars went in, where like it almost becomes the Oscars at this point are just big circle jerk for everybody in the industry. It's the people producing and funding the movies that vote on the Oscars. Like, and I'm not saying that's what the Game Awards necessarily is right now, but like that's what it appears like to a lot of people because of that gap that Delilah and I were talking
To
about earlier.
Okay, but also just to double back to talk to It Takes Two's popularity, the game hit 3 million in October, mid
That,
October.
that's fine.
I'm just saying.
Yeah.
I'm since we're talking about sales data, I just thought I'd bring that up. There was a backlash behind It Takes Two winning, and clearly those people didn't play the game. That's
Yeah,
kind of all I
no,
have to
you
say
can't.
about that.
That
Probably.
game is.
I didn't play the game, but I mean, again, I'm not rendering judgment on it whether
I
it
know, I know,
deserved or not. Yeah.
and to be clear to you and to the audience, like I'm not coming at you, Jason. I'm not trying to come. I'm talking about like the people that are putting out backlash and asking like, oh, what is this game? Like, I don't know. With a game
Yeah,
like
I
that,
think
it hit 3 million 2 months ago. Like, how do you not know what it is?
yeah, I think if you're not the type of person that like we all three of us, we play a variety of games from a variety of genres. We don't like you have the things that that you play more, but we don't stick to anything. I feel like I take those people's opinions a little more to heart because I know they played like they've been all over the place. You know what I mean? Unless of
Hmm.
course they don't beat games, then fuck that. I don't care about their opinion.
Yeah. Um. So yeah, that's what comes that's what it comes to with the awards. That we've talked for like 50 minutes about just the awards. Um.
More than the actual Game Awards.
Yeah, more than the actual Game Awards talked about the awards.
We gave yeah, we gave more love
Um.
to the awards for sure.
Yeah. I
So
mean,
you're welcome, my man. Fuck the Oscars. Yeah.
yeah, and yeah, that's another thing I do want to say before we move on is Joseph Fares. He obviously um made a name for himself in 2017 when he got up to talk to Geoff about It Takes Two at the time, and got up on stage. And he's a former film guy. He used to be a director, so he was in the film industry, and he obviously got out of it for a reason. He doesn't have much good to say about the film industry. And on stage, yeah, he did his whole like thing. Can I swear on this? And Geoff was like, yeah, sure. And then he looks at the camera, puts up his middle finger, and says, fuck the Oscars,
Yeah, I
fuck
think that's
you.
when he was talking about A Way Out, actually.
Well,
I
yeah,
think,
he was promoting A Way Out because
yeah,
that had yet to come out. It was coming out a couple months later.
yeah,
Um,
another
and
good
yeah,
game.
he was yeah, A Way Out was great. But even before that, if you haven't played Brothers: A Tale of Two Sons, the first game that he worked on, definitely go play that. It's similar in the sense that there's two characters. It's a single player game. You're actually controlling both characters at once.
Mm.
Which is it's tricky to kind of wrap your brain around that, but it's a very good game that tells a very impactful story.
The
And go ahead.
the
Go
one
on.
thing I'll say about It Takes Two and Hazelight, just to close off, is they have mastered couch co-op in a way that I've never seen before, and we don't have many couch co-op games, and that's what makes it extra special.
Somehow
Even
Halo right now isn't couch. I mean, it's coming, but
I mean,
In
and
May.
even yeah, um, even when you even not even just couch co-op, but the fact that only one person needs to buy It Takes Two to play it, right?
Yeah.
Like I have my copy. Jason, if you wanted to play that game with me, you don't have to buy it. You just download the free client or whatever. I invite you. You connect to me and we play together. You don't earn trophies, but like you can still play that entire game without having to buy it.
Yeah, which
As long
like
as someone buys it.
Hazelight, if you could implement trophies for that buddy pass system, that would be the
Well,
best.
that's the whole thing is they gotta have some detriment
Right.
when you don't pay money for it, and that's like that's the
yeah,
smallest cross to bear. I feel is oh, you
Yeah.
can't earn trophies. Delilah, you and I are the only people around that probably really care about. I mean, that's not true, but Jason doesn't give a shit about trophies. So
Yeah.
um yeah, and his Joseph Fares has come a long way from shouting "fuck the Oscars," and he said it again on his for his acceptance speech, and he said,
Yeah.
I love the after he says that, he's like, "Oh, I said fuck the Oscars in 2017." In a way, the Oscars did get fucked tonight because the Game Awards is great, and yeah, in some ways he's right, but
Well,
yeah, I'm very happy for him and his team, and yeah, I really just happy for everyone that won. Congratulations to all the winners, especially
yeah.
Final Fantasy 14 and Nier Replicant, the best.
Returnal, we love you.
Yeah, rip the Returnal. God damn it. All right. Um, all that's left now is to talk about the other 3.5 hours of the show, which is all the announcements. And we don't have to talk about all of them. I'll just pick and choose like some of the bigger ones.
I just want to say the beginning of the show was like front loaded with great announcements for like what 30 minutes maybe, and everything
Yeah.
else was just A shit I don't care about, B shit I've seen already that I'm like okay, more of this, or D marketing.
Yeah.
yeah, they
Yeah.
fucking front loaded the show.
I skipped
I
some,
don't
I don't
know
know why.
how they thought this was a good idea, and they saved like the last 20-minute block or whatever for like a fucking Matrix demo and old ass Keanu Reeves and
But
Carrie Ann Moss or whatever her name is.
so two things about that. Like one, well, actually three things. One, epic.
Yeah,
Two,
conspiracy theory. No, I'm just kidding.
but not to its credit. I from what I hear, the tech, because that's an Unreal Engine 5
Yeah, yeah,
tech demo essentially, and like what we've seen of Unreal Engine 5 has been nothing short of unreal. You know, it's kind of living up to that name. But it does look insanely good. The graphical fidelity is the closest we've ever been to like a realistic playable thing. You know,
Yep.
even though it's like a short 10-minute thing, the tech behind it is pretty insane. And you know, again, it does come down to marketing. A Matrix movie is coming out very soon. Obviously, they're going to put this out to promote that. But the other thing is this is kind of in line for the Game Awards as of late, because last year, well, I think it was last year,
Yep.
they ended the show with that really shitty PS2 era looking Fast and Furious game.
Yeah.
yeah.
You know,
And
it's always going to be the biggest marketing promo push that's going
and I
to
don't know
end
why
the
Geoff
show.
Keighley like he buries himself. Like this year, he said something to the effect of, "We have 4 times as many big announcements as when Elden Ring was like first announced," or something like that.
And to be fair, there
And
is a
there
big
was,
list of announcements here. I've written them all down. It's a long
but
list.
not one of them was on that level.
Was on
No.
the level of what?
Elden Ring.
I
No,
think I
Oh,
think I
absolutely
Elden Ring.
not.
think
Oh,
I think he compared
um,
it to like Elden Ring or Death Stranding or some
I,
one of the big announcements from.
the
Yeah,
issue with that is how do you quantify that? You know, like what you're excited for isn't the same as what I'm excited for, isn't the same as Delilah's excited for. You know, so like if I don't care about Elden Ring, I'm not going to agree with you. Um,
yeah. Like I was really excited for the Space Marines, but at the same time, I'm humble enough to recognize like that's not Elden Ring.
sure, yeah, but like you know, FromSoft, they're just a developer. You know, they're a really popular developer. They make really high quality games. One of their games won Game of the Year a couple years ago.
Last year.
Um,
Oh, 2 years ago. No,
yeah,
last
two
year.
years ago,
2 years ago.
Yes,
Yeah.
Sekiro was 2 years. Yeah,
2019.
Yeah.
What was Game of the? Was it? Oh, it
I'm
was probably
like,
The Last of Us Part Two.
I'm.
yeah.
Oh
I think
yeah,
it was that.
yeah.
Yeah.
Wow. Why is that blur? That's weird.
Because 2020, we don't count 2020 for anything. 2020, we were just all home, and time is an enigma.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, like from software, they're just another game developer, right? Like they make really good games, but like if you don't care about their games, if you don't like their games, then they're not going to be on the same level as you know, like Guerrilla Games or something else. It all comes down to preference. So like or what I should say is it's all subjective. You know, for him to say that, that's probably true to a number of people, but to you guys it's not. Elden Ring is huge, and nothing from the show can even come close. It's all a matter of perspective is what I'm saying.
There were
But
some announcements that, in my perspective, were to that level.
Yeah,
Um,
honestly, I would switch out Elden Ring for that space. If I could use magic to rush the Space Marines game along, I would switch Elden Ring out and wait for it longer.
don't you? No, I'm just kidding.
um let's talk. Did you guys start watching at the pre-show? Did you guys watch the
I
pre-show at
did.
all?
Yes, yes.
Okay. So I mean, opening that with Tunic, I was delighted because I played the demo for Tunic when it went up for like the summer, the summer like game demo thing that Xbox did, and I really enjoyed that. And that game's been a long time coming, so I'm looking forward to that. I don't know, Delilah, did you play that? Are
No,
you
I didn't.
over the game?
I'm mildly interested, but I think it's one of those games that I would wait for. I'm not like hyped
Okay,
for it, but it does
okay,
look cute.
okay. I would say the biggest, probably the biggest surprise to come, not the biggest like or the most exciting looking game, but the biggest surprise to come out of the pre-show was probably the Texas Chainsaw Massacre game that is
Hmm.
reportedly in development, joining the likes of Friday the 13th and Dead by Daylight and um, Aliens Fireteam Elite. I guess we would lump that in under that
I guess you
umbrella.
could also throw. There was that Ash Evil Dead game, wasn't
Yeah,
there?
Oh
whatever
yeah,
happened, we
that
haven't,
hasn't
or I
come
guess
out yet.
that was announced like at E3 or Gamescom. I guess it's pretty recent for that. So,
Yeah.
but yeah, I guess you could throw that. Well, we don't really know what that is.
Yeah,
I guess arguably we don't really know what Texas Chainsaw Massacre is going to be like either. But like
Right.
I would assume it's going to be like Friday the 13th or Dead by Daylight, where there's like a
it's
one
like
person is
one.
playing as Leatherface and
They came up with a name for that kind of genre of multiplayer games where it's like one player is,
asymmetrical.
yeah, asymmetrical, yeah, one versus everybody
Asymmetrical
else, yeah.
multiplayer. Yeah. Um. Yeah, that was a big surprise. Throughout, not just in the pre-show, but there was also an announcement during the main show. Uh, the revived Telltale is making two different sci-fi games, one
Yeah.
based on The Expanse and one based on Star Trek.
Of all the
No
fucking
sign of The Wolf Among
properties,
Us, which is a shame. That's the one Telltale game I'd love to see come back, and it's supposed to be coming back. But what's up, Jason?
I said of all the fucking sci-fi properties they could have chosen, they choose Star Trek, which is just fucking dead, and The Expanse, which the books
What's
shat the bed, and it looks like the TV series is going to do the same.
What's the latest Star Trek series? I thought I heard it was pretty good.
There was Picard and Discovery, both of which are pretty universally hated by Star Trek
Oh,
fans.
okay. Well, there you go. Um, yeah, Telltale making a splash coming back. No Wolf Among Us and two sci-fi properties. Woo! Um, we also Babylon's Fall. I don't care.
I was excited at first, and the more I see, the less I care.
They restructured that game to be a 4-player like looter slasher kind of deal made by Platinum, and like even Platinum I feel can't make me interested in that game. It came out that they got the Final Fantasy 14 team's blessing to have armor sets from Final Fantasy 14 be the armor sets in Babylon's Fall, which I don't know,
Yay.
that it's like a small thing, but it's also like, damn, you guys couldn't even make your own like original armor
I
sets.
feel like that's kind of a trend with Platinum though, where Platinum is a very, very talented development team when it comes to the actual core mechanics and gameplay loops,
Mhm.
but they need either that one person or another creative team working in tandem to actually come up with the core aesthetic and narrative elements
But
of
like,
whatever they're working on. Like,
then just get people. Well, then just do that. I don't know. I mean, I don't think that's a problem. I mean, they did that with Near Automata, right? Like
yes,
Yoko
like
Taro.
that's what I'm referring to, like Near Automata, and like Bayonetta was what's his name from, he was originally, I think, one of the creators of Devil May Cry, and then they
Well,
split from Capcom.
Hideki Kamiya, he's at Platinum. He founded Platinum.
Yeah, but what I'm saying is like Bayonetta was like his brainchild, wasn't it? And whereas
Yeah,
this I don't even know where this comes from. Like,
yeah. I mean, it's not like Platinum is like devoid of like creativity.
right. I'm just
Um,
saying they tend to operate better when there's a more focused creative. I don't know how to phrase it. Like, what I'm saying is they tend as a studio to inherently have more talent when it comes to the actual gameplay mechanics. So
yeah.
this
I
might
mean, I
play well. This might play well, but whether the game systems like progression and whatnot that you would associate with this genre function well, or whether the world is cool or the aesthetics, or story, who knows?
mhm.
Yeah.
I guess we'll see. I really can't bring myself to care about it, but we'll see when it comes out. Evil West looked pretty cool.
That looked fucking dope. Yeah,
It was like a very high octane action, like kind of western looking game, but with like monsters and shit. Um, but yeah, looked neat. And like there were some indies sprinkled in that I was definitely interested. I already brought up Tunic. Planet of Lana, Have a Nice Death. Both of all of those games that were in the pre-show, I was really into. Thirsty Suitors doesn't really tickle my fancy much. It's coming from Annapurna, or no, yeah, no, it's coming from Annapurna, I believe, which it's kind of at odds with me because I really like Annapurna as a publisher, but I don't know, it didn't really seem interesting to me.
Yeah.
And the last big thing from the pre-show was Persona 4 Arena Ultimax. getting
I
published
honestly thought that they
or
were gonna
re-released.
announce that Persona 4 was being ported over.
Golden, yeah, that's
Yeah.
that. There, I saw a lot of backlash online that it wasn't Persona 4 Golden.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah, yeah. I mean, we've got Persona 5 Strikers on Switch and not Persona 5 on Switch, which definitely has still continued to annoy people, many people I know, and I'm
Yeah,
sure
that's
a lot of
very
other people.
strange.
hmm Um, and in general, like, yeah, the Persona 25th anniversary situation, I guess, as it were, is a little odd.
Mhm.
Um, but yeah, that's pretty much the pre-show, and the main show. You know, we'll run again. We'll run through the big major announcements. They opened the show as far as announcements go, or trailers, with a new trailer for Senua's Saga: Hellblade 2, a
This is
game that
probably
I.
my favorite showcase of the whole show.
Your favorite trailer, really?
Yeah, 100%.
Wow.
Yeah, that game looks incredible.
It's it's weird, right? Because I couldn't tell you whether or not any of that was gameplay, what bits of it were gameplay, what bits of it weren't. I genuinely couldn't tell.
I thought the whole thing
And
The
was
whole thing was in game,
gameplay.
yeah.
how do we know that though?
Or at least that's what they said.
Okay, because it was just hard to discern, right? And that you could look at that to its benefit. You could look at that. You could look at
I
that.
was looking at it from a benefit for sure.
Yeah, you could also look at it to its detriment in the sense of you don't like we just don't know. We can't. It's hard to tell. They
Well,
could say that, but
given,
like
and I
most
haven't
gameplay
played.
trailers are gameplay trailers, right?
y-
Not just playing devil's advocate. I did think it looked
Yeah,
really good, and I am very excited for
I
it.
haven't played the original yet. I plan to, but I do know what the subject matter is.
Maybe we should plan for
And
that
given the
for a.
thematic nature of the subject matter it's dealing with, which and I won't say because it will spoil potentially
Well,
the
you know
game
what? We'll
itself.
we'll we'll
But
talk about that
it
on a
makes
future
it
episode of Reap the
yeah,
Spoils.
exactly. But it makes it it also kind of confuses me as to what exactly this game is going to entail. But I guess hey, surprises. Who knows?
I think it's. I don't know this for a fact, but I thought I remembered reading or seeing somewhere that it's intended to be a prequel,
Hmm.
Maybe.
of some sort. Yeah, we'll see. You know, I mean, I loved Hellblade. I think Hellblade is a fantastic game. Again, I'm going to be pushing these two to maybe do a spoiler cast on it by the time Hellblade 2 comes out, because I think it would be a great game to talk about, frankly. But yeah, like it was just really hard from that trailer to tell, like, is this gameplay, is this not gameplay? And I usually don't care much about that. I'm more so bummed that they showed another trailer. They haven't really showed that game off much in the past year, or actually 2 years, really, because they actually revealed that game, Game Awards 2019, when they revealed the Series X. So we've known about that game for 2 years now, and we've hardly seen anything of it, and it still doesn't have a release date. So, or even a window. You know, we don't know if it's coming next year or 2023.
Yeah.
So that's the thing that I'm like most bummed about. You know, they showed a new trailer for it, and we still don't know when it's coming.
Yeah,
Hmm.
and to be to your point, like it doesn't really indicate what kind of gameplay it'll be. Like if it'll be like the first Hellblade, where it's like very environmental puzzly with like some combat sprinkled in between, or if they're going a completely different direction. Because this looked very different, which it appealed to
hmm
me. And I think what drew me to this trailer the most was just sorry about that was just the visuals, like seeing the giant and like having to traverse around it. That just all looked very cool to me.
Yeah.
And also I had headphones on, so I was able to hear all the voices that she's hearing, and
Okay.
Yeah,
Okay.
the
that
Celt, the dedication, as somebody who's really into that stuff, like the dedication they have to like the historical authenticity of like the Celtic aesthetic, very much draws me to it. Even though I haven't played it, I do want to get around to playing it at some point.
yeah, it's really short.
Um, and
Future episode, Reap the
even
Spoils.
like even when you hear like the characters chanting, like that is Celtic, like so or Gaelic, I should say. But yeah,
Yeah.
Yeah. Um. So yeah. I think we're all pretty high on that announcement. The next big, yeah, and you guys aren't wrong. This was a very top heavy show. We've arguably got like 5 heavy hitters within the first half hour or so. Star Wars Eclipse which I was super into.
Until they said High Republic.
No, 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 no. I don't care about that. No, High Republic is fine by me. And frankly, High Republic is awesome, but it was until we saw that Quantic Dream logo, and that just deflated my hype balloon so fast.
Yeah, because you know it's
And
just
I
gonna be narrative based.
and it's not even that. I don't mind that, right? If you tell a good Star Wars story, that's fine by me. I don't trust Quantic Dream to tell a good story. I don't trust David Cage to write a good script. He
Hmm.
hasn't exactly done well in the past two games that he's written, and even Heavy Rain, as much as I liked Heavy Rain back in the day, even Heavy Rain is questionable.
I didn't like
Um,
Heavy Rain that much, but I thought Detroit Become Human was really good. I liked the writing in that game.
Destroy that's fine. I at the time I feel like I liked it. It's more so in retrospect, looking back on that game and what the story that it tries to tell, and the parallels it tries to make with certain like real life movements. It's not very effective in my opinion.
Hmm.
Um, but David Cage, even that bit aside, David Cage is a writer. He's just he's very heavy handed and not very subtle. And there's also not to leave this out of the conversation, but a lot of the allegations lifted against him
Right.
and the studio, the culture at the studio. It's not exactly positive stuff. So yeah, my hype bubble for this game. That all aside, though, knowing that this is a Star Wars game that's going to play like a Quantic Dream game, it's not quite what I want, especially from the trailer that we
Well,
got.
we don't necessarily know that. I mean, we're assuming it.
We
That's
assume that
true.
because that's the kind of game Quantic Dream has
Yeah.
made for 2 decades, right? So it's a
And this
safe
was
bet,
this was just a CG trailer, so it could be anything. We don't know.
right?
It looked
But
really good though, what
it
they
yeah,
showed.
it does look gorgeous, but we don't know what it's gonna be. It's a safe bet that it's gonna play like every other Quantic Dream game, and not what I wanted from seeing that
Yeah.
trailer until I saw that logo. You know what I'm
All I can
saying?
say is I think it's safe to say I'm probably the biggest Star Wars fan here, and I'm so checked out on Star Wars as a whole that there's like this. It's just an unfair thing towards this game where it's like, a, it's a CG trailer, so I don't really know what it is, and b, I'm so checked out of Star Wars at the
I
I'm
moment
like
that
that.
honestly just checked out of Star Wars and Marvel. I feel like we need a little bit of breathing room when it comes
Well,
to
that's
those
Well, it's
franchises.
funny because Marvel is the one that's like I feel like it's still just oversaturated, right? On top of them resuming the movie output, they're now doing Disney Plus shows pretty regularly. Star Wars hasn't quite hit that point. We've gotten The Mandalorian for 2 seasons. We just got Visions. It's about to start getting bad once Book of Boba Fett hits, and then we've got the slew of 5 or 6 other shows that they're going to start bombarding us with. We're definitely going to hit that point of Star Wars fatigue that we hit a couple years ago
oh
when they were
with
putting out a movie a year.
yeah, with me it's not even fatigue. It's just nothing has
I
been
know.
of the quality I expect. So yeah, with the exception
Love
of
that.
actually, I did we did do an episode on it, the
Fallen
Jedi
Fallen
Order.
Order.
Order, which was unexpectedly awesome.
It was so good.
I love Jason's bit there. Like, this isn't exactly what you said. I'm just not to put words in your mouth. You're like I'm probably the biggest Star Wars fan here, but I hate Star Wars.
Right now, yeah, like post '90s Star Wars, yeah.
Yeah. But anyway, yeah. Moving on from that, Wonder Woman was announced with a brief teaser coming from Monolith. I believe the same Monolith that made what was it, Shadow of Mordor and Shadow of War.
Yeah, so Shadow of Mordor, I don't know, did either of you guys play that one?
I
Yeah.
did.
So like
I
I was actually surprised as a Tolkien, like Tolkien, that's my favorite thing ever, that entire universe he created, and I was surprised at how they were able to take the lore and actually stay faithful to it, but also make something new out of it, and also and bring in that Peter Jackson aesthetic. So I'm actually this was actually one of the more exciting things for me, even though all we saw was like a CG picture of Wonder Woman.
okay.
Yeah, this was definitely the most surprising thing. I didn't expect a Wonder Woman game. But if so I wonder if they're going to implement some kind of nemesis system in this game. I'm
They
curious
are.
to see more on it cuz
They,
that
they, they
They
are. They stated they are.
Hell
they do
yeah.
own that. Didn't they patent that mechanic?
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah,
Which is
so
a shame because it's such a good mechanic.
patenting mechanics is bullshit. And Sony just did it recently. They patented a lot of the social systems in Death Stranding. So now Sony
Oh.
owns those, which
Oh
is like,
boy.
oh great, so we're never going to see a game that creative again outside of anything Sony puts out, and it probably won't be nearly as interesting as Kojima did.
Right.
You know, say what you will about
If
Death
only they
Stranding,
can
but like,
patent if only they could patent having Mountain Dew in your game. Let's just leave that in Death Stranding. No more games with
no,
Mountain Dew
first
in
of
them.
all, that was Monster
I
Energy,
was
Or
gonna say
dumbass.
Monster
yeah, it's
Monster
Monster.
Energy,
Get your shit
whatever.
right. Come on, man. um but yeah, like patenting mechanics is stupid. And but that being said, like, I don't know, I don't really care about much of DC. The furthest I go is Batman.
Right.
And
I'm
even the
in the
games.
opposite camps where when it comes to the comics, I was a DC guy, and I actually really
Yeah.
enjoy a lot of the Wonder Woman comics and older stuff. The
Okay,
newer
well,
stuff
I
is
mean,
garbage, but
I do hope that this
um,
game is good. It like Jeff said before it was introduced that it was one of the biggest reveals that he was worried was going to get leaked, and it didn't get leaked, and he's
hmm.
right, it didn't get leaked. So this was a big surprise. Probably an even bigger surprise, in my opinion, was the next game up. This is
Yeah.
topical for us because we just did an episode on this game, or
Hell yeah.
this game's predecessor. Finally, Alan Wake 2.
Yeah.
And man, what a
And
fucking spooky trailer.
in our episode, I'm not gonna spoil the whole episode, but Jason did say that he wished that it would go more into survival horror and lean into that, and this one is. And I'm
And
so excited.
to be fair, like I do feel like we all, kind of wanted that, and definitely like
Yeah.
even I would even say expected that from that first game. And I think that's why, because our feelings on that is indicative of a lot of the people that played it back in 2010. And Sam Lake and the team at Remedy probably have been planning to push in that direction, especially with how that first game ended. Again, no spoilers. Go listen to our Alan Wake episode, and play the game. Play the game first.
I think it's
Um,
also just a general trend in what's popular in gaming. Survival horror has made a big comeback.
It's yeah.
I guess
Absolutely.
you could look at it that way, but I don't want to. I don't want to present that as Remedy chasing trends, because I feel like they've been planning this probably since that first game came out.
Yeah,
Um,
this game I feel like would have been I feel like the original Alan Wake would have been better if it leaned into that a lot more. So I'm actually happy that they decided to do that for the sequel.
Yeah. And man, I fully, like, I immediately recognized, right? Like, they started off that trailer and we were seeing the vistas and the streets and stuff, and I was like, "Oh, this is just going to be some Alan Wake and Dead by Daylight bullshit." Other than It Takes Two winning Game of the Year, I've never been happier to be wrong.
Yeah.
That was such a cool reveal trailer. It was so surprising and so unexpected, and then Sam Lake being on stage to say, like, this is going to be a survival horror game,
Yeah.
like, hype
I'm
level
so
maximum.
glad that we decided to do an episode on it and that they came out with the remaster because I recognized what it was just hearing his voice and I wouldn't have been able
Yeah,
to do that until I saw his face. Or maybe
right.
not cuz he looked like more rugged obviously than he does in the original Alan Wake.
Yeah. I recognize from like the vistas that they opened up the trailer with, like we saw the main street where that parade happened at the end of the game, and
Yeah.
that's that. Like, obviously when he started talking, I was like, that's Alan Wake.
Yeah.
That's Alan Wake right there. But yeah, I like I said, I thought it was just gonna be some Dead by Daylight crossover, and I'm so happy it wasn't, because that was
Yeah.
a great trailer, great reveal. Really excited for that. Not coming till 2023, which
That's fine.
sucks.
There's
Okay,
too much in 2022.
that's true. It's accurate. And then then we got the first look, the first trailer for Sonic the Hedgehog 2. Not a game, but a movie based on a game, or a game
That shit
series.
looks fun. I'm excited for
Yeah.
that movie.
First movie
Jason.
was a surprisingly awesome experience. It was my best experience in a theater that year. Like I was so
Oh.
happy when I walked out of
Well,
that
it was
theater.
probably the only movie you saw, because that
No,
Sonic, it's
that was the last movie I saw in theaters that year because that
right.
was right before all the shit went down. Yeah,
That's what I'm saying. Yeah. That's kind of what I'm implying, because it came out in February. It was largely the last movie anyone had seen in theaters before the pandemic started. So,
Yeah.
and since it was so early in the year, I don't know, you might have gone to see another movie, but in the year I did, I went and I
no,
saw
I did.
The
Yeah,
Invisible Man, but But that's not my point. The point being is, yeah, that movie was great. The first movie was fantastic. The second movie looks like it's going to be more of the same, and yeah, cool stuff.
Yeah.
Um, just we'll just start skipping ahead to some of the other big announcements. Yeah, Final Fantasy VII Remake is finally off of PlayStation jail and is coming to PC, but it's an Epic Game Store exclusive. Um, it's and also the price got removed off the Epic Game Store because there was a lot of backlash about it being $70. I don't know how you guys feel about that. If you wanted to comment on it.
I think it's too much. I also thought that the PS5 upgrade for Final Fantasy VII Remake along with the DLC was too much. Especially considering it was like, oh, here, like play it for free on PS Plus, and then I have a lot of issues with the way that's
That
rolled out between Square. I think it's very predatory, and I don't think they should charge that much at all.
Yeah, I
so
think
yeah.
I think I have more of a problem, like Delilah said, with the way it's rolled out. Because there's a debate to be had about inflation and prices of games, but then at the same time, we know that these companies are making up those costs of that are due to inflation tenfold in microtransactions and other games and live services and whatnot. So it's like it's such a complex argument that it, I could see in terms of raising prices across the board for games. I can see both sides, but at the end of the day, I don't. I would have to come down on why raise it, and if you are going to raise it, don't do it in the predatory manner as Delilah just said that they did.
So like I wasn't so when the game came out on PS5, like I wasn't completely opposed to it being a full priced game. I think it should have remained a $60 game instead of getting the price jump to 70. It coming to PC like 6 months later, it doesn't need to be $70. You've been able to buy it on PS5 for like 40.
Right.
And I'm sure you'll be able to buy it on PC for like 40 in a few months after it releases. But like when it comes to the rollout on PlayStation, how the PS4 version of the game was a PS Plus game, like I get that because people get a PS Plus subscription and they get hundreds of dollars in value of free games, and to just give them a free upgrade or even like a reduced upgrade to get the full version of the game upgraded on PS5 when all they did was get it on PS Plus. I understand from a business perspective why they can't really allow that. Um, Personally, I think the bigger problem goes back to that release of just why was the intermission DLC exclusive to PS5? Really wasn't any reason for that I can tell.
Yeah.
It's not like it was so graphically demanding or hardware intensive that it required that extra beef. It was just a marketing thing.
Yeah.
And at the time that it came out, for it to be a PS5 exclusive thing in one of the most popular JRP content in a game that's based on one of the most popular JRPGs of all time, it's a little gross, especially when you
It's
can't
very
get the
gross.
system
Yeah.
to play it. When you can't buy the system to play it, it doesn't make sense to me. It doesn't track.
Yeah. I don't like it.
But anyway, yeah, finally breaking out a PS PlayStation jail, but at what cost?
Mm.
Um, Slitterhead.
So this is a game that I'm most intrigued by just because it had like Junji Ito, like Kojima
Well,
looking vibes.
it's got the original creator of Silent Hill behind it. Another
Yeah,
episode,
that
reap the
that
spoils.
like
Go
kind of
listen.
like made my heart thump a little bit when I saw
Well,
that. But then the tone of the trailer was just like all over the place. Like it was like
mm-hmm.
crazy and weird, but then it had this music that just didn't fit in my opinion, and it looked like really not that great like visually. Like all like
It looked very budget. Yeah,
it did look
I
pretty
thought it looked
budget.
pretty. I thought it looked pretty good. I thought it looked effectively creepy. My whole thing is, it's not what I want from the creator of Silent Hill because it
yeah.
doesn't really seem like it doesn't seem like Silent Hill
It looks like the
whatsoever.
creator of Silent Hill like got his hands on a Yakuza game. Like,
Frankly, Slitterhead looks closer to what I want Ghostwire Tokyo to look like.
Yeah, I could agree with that.
And that's kind of where I'm at with that. But again, it's not what I expected from the Silent Hill creator. But hey, Akira Yamaoka is composing the game, and you can't beat the Silent Hill composer composing this game. You can't beat that. It's gonna be a great score. Nightingale, that was like it was like frontiersmen fighting monsters, and you had to do like some base building. Once I saw the base building, I was off. I was like, nah, I don't want this. I didn't know if a lot of people are pretty hype on that game. I didn't know if you guys had an opinion about it,
I
one way
think
or the
this is
other.
where things just went downhill for me for the most part.
Jason, since you spoke to the fact that you're a big Tolkien buff, how did you feel about the first look at Lord of the Rings Gollum?
He
Why?
looked weird.
The reason he looked weird, I've heard people talk about this on other podcasts and streams and whatnot. If I'm right, it depends on who is making the game. I didn't catch or look into who exactly is
I'll
publishing
look
it.
into it while you're talking.
Um, if it is Amazon, Amazon does not have the full extent of rights, and I believe it does have something to do with it. It's similar if you're familiar with the way copywriting and IP ownership works in comic books, where they have to constantly change the looks of superheroes so they don't have to pay fucking residuals to the actual creators of those superheroes. Um,
So
Amazon does not have like the full rights to the likeness, the
just to
exact likeness of Gollum from the
just to
movies.
just to cut in, this isn't Amazon at all. It's
Okay, it's not.
it developed and developed by Daedalic Entertainment, co-published by Daedalic Entertainment and Nacon, a French company, a French publisher.
Is it connected to Warner Brothers or Amazon in any way?
No, doesn't seem like it's connected to Warner Brothers or Amazon in
I
any
wonder.
way.
I wonder how they got the license for it then. Either
Yeah, I
way,
mean,
or maybe The Hobbit is just public. No, that doesn't make sense because I don't know.
regardless, yeah.
Regardless, why? What are you going to do with a guy? Like that's not the
I mean, I think
appeal.
the idea is it's supposed to be like a stealth adventure.
Yeah, why?
Yeah, I mean, I can't imagine there's much of an audience or niche for playing as Gollum, but you know, it is what it is. Um, yeah, I it's not that he looked everything about Gollum looked fine except for the eyes, right?
Yeah.
Like you were
It,
talking about it comes down to likeness, but I can't imagine it comes down to likeness when the only thing different about him was his eyes.
well, that's
Everything
enough.
else was exactly the same.
That's technically
Okay.
enough to be legally for in terms of
I
IP legalities. That
I think
determines
I think
um,
it
what.
I think it comes down more to how I just said, you know, it's made by this studio we've never heard of, published by a publisher we've never heard of. It's just a small team that
Maybe
you know maybe doesn't have the resources, or at
I'm
least
just
not
speculating based on what I know from the deal that Amazon made when
right.
they acquired those
And
rights.
I do
But
think this game was in development before the Amazon deal happened because this game has been in the works for several years now. And I know Amazon has had the rights for several years too, but I think this still was before that happened.
I will
So
say it 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 would make more sense the design if they embraced the more cartoony and I think honestly the best depiction of Middle Earth aesthetically, which was the 1977 Rankin Bass animated Hobbit movie. If any of you are familiar, any of the listeners are familiar or have seen it, it's a classic. It's great. It's the best depiction of the Hobbit, better than fucking Peter Jackson's trilogy. Um, but yeah, if they had like lent into that more cartoonish aesthetic with everything, then like it might have looked cooler, but it didn't. So I don't know.
Yeah.
all right, moving on. We finally got a release date for the Cuphead DLC. They did a big song and dance about it, and which I thought was a little over the top and unnecessary, but people love Cuphead, so
The music in Cuphead's great, so I was into
no,
it.
yeah, the music in Cuphead is great. It's more so just like it's a DLC for a game that's been out for years, and it's like it got a bigger splash at the show than a lot of these other like big reveals and stuff. And I'm just like, huh, okay. But yeah, that's finally coming out June 30th. still a ways away. So I'm like, well, okay. I'm surprised. The DLC has been in development almost as long as I feel the game has or was. So that's
DLC,
Yeah.
by
insanely.
the way, what was the? I didn't put the
Delicious,
delicious last something
delicious
Delicious
last.
last course.
Yeah.
course, which was the song they sang. I didn't put that together until like way after the show. Yeah,
We've got a first look at Sonic Frontiers, which everyone is comparing to Breath of the Wild because it has grass.
No,
because it's
I think
open
it was
world.
just
Yeah, it's
the pan, like the way
No,
Sonic.
but that happens with so many games though, right? Is
yeah.
you have really green, like bright green looking grass, and everyone's like, "Oh, it's like the Breath of the Wild of this
It's like
franchise." And it's
it's
like,
like when
stop.
everything started going open world and everybody's like, "Oh, it's Skyrim." Like
Yeah,
it's almost like that. Yeah.
right. Yeah, people don't know how to make like more thought provoking comparisons. But anyway, Sonic Frontiers coming holiday 2022. It looked neat. Like if Sonic 06 was good, maybe.
I just want to see gameplay to see how they're gonna function Sonic in
Yeah,
open world.
Like
yeah.
actually being able to go super, super, super fast in an open world might actually make open worlds interesting again. I don't know.
Yeah,
Um, this was probably the weirdest part of the show, for me at least. Having Kojima appear on camera to introduce a
Oh,
trailer for a movie that's coming out that has nothing to do with games,
that looks
and
like he created it. And this is after hearing news that he's working, his studio wants to work on movies. It
well,
was just
it's a
that movie
Guillermo del
is
Toro movie.
it's a
Yeah.
no, I
Guillermo del
know,
Toro
but it
movie.
was confusing because like you see like this baby in a bottle in a orange in a yellow bottle, just like you do with BB in Death Stranding. And
Yeah.
prior to that, like Kojima said he wants his studio to work on film, and then he announces a film from Guillermo, and it was
Well,
just
the
all
thing
very
he didn't announce that film, right? He just introduced a trailer that they were going to show for it because it's about to come out,
right.
and like I saw a trailer for that like a month ago, and I was already sold on seeing it because it looks really interesting, it looks great, and it's Guillermo del Toro. It was just weird, like to have Kojima introduce a trailer for a movie that's out in like a week that has nothing to do with games. And that segued into Guillermo del Toro introducing, I don't even remember which award he introduced, but he went to introduce an award and he like took a shot at Konami being like, I really like that Silent Hill franchise. Whatever happened to that? It's just so fucking bizarre.
Yeah, it was
Like what
bizarre.
the hell? Um but yeah, that's I just wanted to talk about that because it was fucking strange. How did you guys this is another trailer that was a gameplay trailer, but it was a gameplay quote unquote trailer. How'd you guys feel about the Suicide Squad game?
Um, this is another situation where I don't understand how the game plays. Like, even though they showed gameplay in that trailer, I don't
Yeah.
understand if it functions where like you as the player are switching in between these characters or it's co-op. And someone told me that it's actually co-op, which worries me a little bit more because I would almost prefer to play as all the characters.
I thought I heard that Suicide Squad was a single player game, but the other one, the
Gotham
Bat
City
Family,
Knights.
yeah, I
Yeah.
heard that was the co-op one. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe they're both co-op.
That's what I heard too, but then I heard that this one was co-op too, and it worried me. Either which way, if it's co-op, I'm worried. If it's single player, then I feel like that could be really fun playing in
Yeah,
between all of the Suicide
it
Squad
just
members.
it just comes down to it was a gameplay trailer, but it didn't really inform us at all how that game plays.
Right.
And that's kind of the issue I had with it.
I'm always going to be thrown off because of how bright and colorful it is, and I used to read a lot of Suicide Squad comics, and it's a
Hmm.
very fucking dark comic and gritty, not for children comic. Um, in at least in its original incarnations, and yet DC. I mean, they fucking tapped James Gunn to direct a sequel. Like they're trying to fucking make it their Guardians of the Galaxy, so it's just very jarring,
Right.
especially when it just isn't Suicide Squad to me, so it's just hard to reconcile. Although that's
Gotcha.
just more of an aesthetic thing. But
The
then, like,
only
I don't know, Amanda Waller, like, being like
Oh God,
female Nick Fury when she's basically, you know how you identify certain aesthetic aspects of the comic book characters with that character, like Kingpin is a big fat guy. Like,
Yeah.
Amanda Waller in the books is a big fat woman, but she's like a big fat badass woman. Like,
Right.
and now she's like basically just Nick Fury, but with it, she's female.
Yeah, and that whole bit was super cringy
Yeah,
when
Yeah,
they had
I
the
didn't
actress
vibe
walk
with
out on
me either.
stage.
The
Ugh,
one thing about
I
Suicide
hated
Squad I
that.
am excited about though is to see Gotham during the day, which like in the Batman games we
I thought it
saw
was
in.
Metropolis.
yeah, I think it's Metropolis.
Are we sure? Because for the last
Maybe it's
trailer at
both.
DC Fandom, it showed like the sign for Gotham as soon as the
Maybe you'll
trailer
go to
started, and
both.
it's supposed to be canon to the Batman games.
Okay. I
Maybe.
thought from the first trailer it was Metropolis. So maybe yeah, maybe you'll go to both, you know? I mean, it is a more modern next gen game, so I wouldn't put it past them to have Metropolis and Gotham somehow incorporated.
Yeah,
Especially when it's the Justice League, you know, it's not just Superman or the Flash or Batman. It's like the whole Justice League that they're trying to kill, so to speak. So I wouldn't be surprised if they go to multiple locations.
Yeah, there are other
Um,
cities. Believe it or not, there are other cities than Gotham and Metropolis.
but yeah, I don't know. I thought the first trailer for that game was actually kind of cool, in spite of the fact that I'm probably at the end of the day not going to play it.
Hmm.
And yeah, for this to be a gameplay trailer, I wasn't sold at all. Um, we got a new trailer for Forspoken and a release date of May 24th. I'm a little more sold on this game, but I'm still just kind of like, this just looks like Final Fantasy 15, but with
Yeah,
like less interesting characters and slightly better combat. And it'll obviously come down to how it plays when it's actually out. We'll see how it actually plays. But like, I don't know. I'm having such a it's a bummer because I'm having such a hard time being interested in a game that I would love to be interested in. You
Wait, what
know,
game? I'm sorry, I was looking
for
something up.
for
Forspoken, right, right,
spoken,
right, right. Yeah, I the more I see it, the less I care.
yeah.
I think I think I think they know that the story is botched, which is why we're not seeing terribly much of it,
Well, I don't know that I'd
or as
say that
much
it's
as you would think.
botched.
Or fine, it's not its strength. I'll be generous.
Well, no, because to play devil's advocate to that, I hate when a game's marketing cycle basically spoils the whole story, which Final Fantasy 15 kind of did. Um, so like if they're keeping the story close to the chest, I don't view that as a bad thing at all. Maybe they want it to actually be a fucking surprise, you know. And I hope that that's the case. I hope that it comes out, I play it, and I'm actually blown away. But as it
Yeah.
stands right now, like
I
every
don't know what.
trailer we've seen for that game, I've just seen the main character uh running really fast, and finally we actually got a better look at combat. And again, it looked more interesting this time, but they're not, yeah, they aren't, maybe they're keeping the story too close to the chest because they're not doing much to sell me on the story, you know.
Yeah, like
It's just
everything
seems
I
like stranger in a
hear.
strange land.
Yeah, everything I hear from the dialogue bits is cringe, and the world doesn't look that inspired. Basically, I'm just glad that this team went off and did their own thing, and Yoshi P got to do Final Fantasy 16.
Well, it's not exactly the same team as Final Fantasy 15. I make that comparison because the game looks like it plays
It's the same
similarly.
engine. It's
It's
Luminous, right?
using the same engine. It's
Yeah,
using what is it, Luminous
Luminous. Yeah,
tools, yeah,
because it's Luminous Productions
or
is the name of the
Crystal, isn't it Crystal Engine? I forget. Point being
Luminous. I
though,
think is the name of the studio.
yeah,
Yeah, it
you might be
is.
right. You might be right. Point
But it's
being, I really
yeah,
want to be interested in this game. I really do. Um,
Yeah. It looks like it could be fun, but still not nothing that they've showed is like selling me. Like I was more into it when I first saw it than now, which is not good.
I was more, yeah. I mean, I was more into it when it was just a project name, because then like they only showed like a little bit of someone like jumping through vast landscapes, and like
Yeah.
that was just enough to be interesting, but not enough to be like, oh, this looks really like uninteresting and shallow, you know. But
Mhm.
especially when they still have the project name attached to it, Project Athia.
Mhm.
So I was a little more interested and forgiving at that time. Now I'm just like, please sell me. Like I really want to be sold. I can't skip this because Jason is so interested in it. But Warhammer 40K Space Marine 2.
There's nothing. I mean, there's nothing much to say about it other than it looks fucking awesome.
Yeah, there is the first one. I played a little bit of it back on the PS3. It was a PS Plus title way back when, and yeah, I mean it was pretty cool. And
I
from
mean,
what
we
I
only saw
understand,
a
it's
few
like
snippets of gameplay, but it looks like what the original looked like, and a next gen version of that in that universe that is
from
only growing in popularity somehow. I
yeah,
don't
from
know
what
how,
I
but it is.
understand, from what I understand, when it comes to Warhammer video games, Space Marine is one of the more popular and well
It is
beloved
the most
ones.
popular. Yeah,
It is
it's the
it's the most popular. Okay,
it's the most. I should say it's the most highly regarded. Like
okay,
probably right under that would be the Dawn of War RTSs.
okay,
But for the most part, the 40K games have been shit.
okay.
Um,
Moving on. Uh, we got another look at Saints Row. I bring it up because it's a big name, it's a big game, but it really, I don't know. I'm not Delilah. Is it something that you're gonna
No,
play?
I honestly all the games that they showed that we've already seen things on, what with the exception of Hellblade, what they showed I wasn't like it didn't make me any more
Okay.
sold on the game that I already was. And that includes Horizon and Elden
Well,
Ring.
I mean, the Horizon things just seemed like that just seemed like a sizzle reel marketing commercial. Like that didn't seem like a new trailer for Horizon Forbidden West, right? It just seemed
Right.
like
yeah,
they spliced together clips we've already seen.
Sony had very little presence here, which makes me think that they're
Yeah,
saving a lot for next year. Like they really want to go hard because they
I would
knew
think so.
Microsoft was going hard this year with their two of their biggest franchises, so they were saving up
There
for next year.
there have been rumors of a state of play coming soon, but I think those were debunked. Maybe early next year. I got to imagine early next year because we've got
January, yeah.
yeah, probably one focused on Horizon Forbidden West again because that comes out in February. So they'll probably want to do one last big
And
marketing push for
they
that.
got to start showing some more in depth God of War stuff.
Yeah, that'll follow too. Um, I only bring it up because I thought it was really funny. Fall Guys and Nightmare Before Christmas having a crossover. Yeah, I'm surprised Fall Guys is still going strong. I feel like it's kind of dropped off significantly, but
Mhm.
they got that Disney money now apparently, so that's good. Jason, were you interested in Dune Spice Wars?
Um, if I still played RTSs like I used to, I definitely would have played it. I love that fucking universe.
Okay,
I loved the movie that just came out. I loved the book.
yeah,
Um, and I mean, we don't know much about it other than it's a 4K or 4K for a 4X RTS like Civilization style, and that sounds fucking awesome in the Dune universe. So yeah,
yeah,
if I have the capability, it'd be nice if it was on console. I like that they brought Civilization to console. So
yeah,
that'd be cool if they brought it to console. It just makes it more convenient.
yeah. I gotcha. Um, Tiny Tina's Wonderlands. Delilah, you and I were talking a bit about how we just couldn't care about Borderlands anymore.
No, I
Yeah,
I need a break from Borderlands.
it's funny because I feel like
Are
the
you
gap between
bored?
Borderlands 2.
Boarded, landed out. I don't know. I don't
Yes.
know how to do it.
Good lord, that was difficult.
Borderlands.
That was hard to listen to. Um, yeah, the wait between Borderlands 2 and Borderlands 3 was pretty long. Like Borderlands 2 was 2012 and like pre-sequel came out and then there were like the remasters for PS4 and Xbox One and everything, but like it wasn't a main Borderlands game for like something like 7 years. And
Its
yeah,
shoes were
Borderlands
filled by
3,
the time the three came out. Yeah,
yeah, well there's that, and also Borderlands 3 I just didn't think was very good. I didn't stick with it.
It was fun to
Um
play, but yeah,
there's
narratively it
still
was like whatever.
yeah, there's still somewhat of a community playing it, but it definitely
mhm.
does not have the staying power. Probably because you had games come out like Destiny that
I
became
mean,
so big and filled
frankly,
that void.
if I just see Gearbox's logo, I just roll my eyes and move on. I can't be fucked to care about Gearbox anymore. Uh, Among Us VR, um, a
That must
big
be frightening.
surprise. Yeah, that it was a creepy, weird trailer. Just him going to punch a number into the keypad, and then a fucking Among Us crewmate just comes up walking behind him.
How to
Just
make Among Us more anxiety provoking. Make it VR.
yeah.
Perfect.
Jason, how did you like your K-pop DokeV trailer? Because I know
Oh,
you were really
so
high on the
cringy.
DokeV game.
Well, the actual DokeV game trailer looked fucking interesting as hell. This K-pop thing, I was almost disturbed at some points because the it was the character models. They all looked like they were supposed to be little kids, and at some points, the clothing, the color of it was like tan, so it was like it looked like they weren't wearing like pants. I'm like, why am I looking at models of young kids doing K-pop dances without pants on? And
Yeah,
I was kind of getting like a little uncomfortable. I was also pretty drunk at that point. I was drinking during the award show.
yeah, that's right. Another one that it's a sequel to a game we did an episode on, a Plague Tale Requiem. Go play, and then listen to our episode on a Plague Tale Innocence. Delilah, you were really big on this game,
Yeah,
or
I'm
the first one at
excited
least.
to play the game, although the trailer made me have questions about what's going on, but I
Yeah,
guess that's a good thing.
it does look it's gonna be more combat heavy because the first game was very much you're kind of stripped of ways to defend yourself, and you kind of have to work with what's in your environment. It was
Which
more of
makes
like a stealth
sense.
Which I
puzzle game.
liked.
Yeah,
Yeah.
which
Yeah,
makes sense to the history because like not to be that person, but like a teenage girl in medieval France is not going to be able to contend with 200 plus pound guys in suits of armor.
but
Like,
let's also remember some of the very unrealistic things that happen in the
true,
first
no,
game
no, true,
without
yeah,
spoiling, but
but it
it's
makes sense. Like
it's
the ranged options you were given in that game, like throwing stones and
and
like
to be fair,
something like
like
a crossbow, like. But like if they are going to introduce combat, it's got to be limited. Like,
I mean,
if they go
and
all out with it, it's gonna
when
turn
I
me off.
say when I say it's this one looks more combat heavy, I mean like the first one was maybe like at like a 2, and this is maybe at like a
Yeah, it
4 or
was like
5,
more
you know, it's
puzzle
not like
focused. You're right.
right. But yeah, definitely excited to see more of that. Crossfire X it's a first person shooter campaign being developed by Remedy that comes out February 10th. I mean, to the fact that it's made by Remedy and it does look pretty good for a first person shooter, I might give that a shot. Um, I don't know if you guys had any
Yeah.
care about that.
No, it looked generic.
Okay, okay, that's fine. Um, the last few we'll talk about. We got a brief little trailer for the Halo series that's going to come to Paramount Plus. I hope that doesn't suck. It
Yeah.
sucks that it's on Paramount Plus because
Who has
you know
Paramount Plus?
there's all the discussions about like, oh, what do you need cable for? You've got streaming services, but the cost to have all the streaming
Right.
services subscriptions is just as bad, if not worse, than cable at this point. So it's kind of ballooned to be the same issue. We got that new story trailer for Elden Ring. I
Which was awesome.
didn't. I mean, it was cool. It didn't sell me much more on that game than I already am.
Yeah, no, of course.
But
Like it's like just give us the game. Yeah.
Hmm.
yeah. There was that Arc Raiders game, which was like a third-person shooter. Like I don't even know how to describe it. It had like licensed music playing though. Uh, it
I
was like
don't.
the
Was it
last big game they
licensed? I thought
showed.
it was just like '80s inspired synth going on
No,
in the
I think it
background.
was like 80s licensed music.
Was it?
I think so.
Maybe I just was kind of falling off at the end of the because it was
If I
towards the
recall.
end. Yeah.
Let's put it this way.
Yeah.
In Skill Ups, a YouTuber Jason and I watch, and Skill Ups This Week in Gaming episode that he did today, or that he put out today actually, when he showed Arc Raiders, he could not play it with sound because of the licensed music.
Oh.
Um, so, and then the final thing the final major thing, the final thing really that they showed was the Matrix Awakens, which again we kind of already talked about and touched on. So
Weird way to end, but no doubt.
yeah, but a worse way to end was that fucking Fast and Furious game
Yeah.
last year. So I'll take Matrix Awakens. At least it's pushing the industry forward in a way.
Yeah.
Releasing a PS2 game with Vin Diesel in it doesn't work well. Um,
I
so
left when
yeah,
I left. I think it was Geoff Keighley at one point said like he's been in legendary games talking about Keanu Reeves, and I'm like, you mean that one game he was in Cyberpunk where it was a massive fucking controversy.
Yeah. Well, he wasn't the problem with that
No,
game,
I know, I know, I know.
but um, but yeah, that was the Game Awards 2021. Like, go ahead, Delilah. I think you wanted to say something.
I just said it could be better. You know, spread some of the good announcements like towards the end as well, just to feel like I'm not wasting my time. Like I
I
feel like
mean,
I could have watched the beginning of that show and the end of that show and gotten the same out of it than watching for 4 fucking hours.
really, I feel like he has to put the trailers in intermixed with the awards, right? Because that's the way they get the viewers, right? And there's millions and millions of people. I think last year hit 10 million viewers. This year's probably going to hit more. We haven't seen the numbers yet, to my knowledge. Because this show is growing exponentially. The problem is just that it's supposed to be an award show. It's supposed to recognize and pay tribute to the developers and the people that worked on all these games from this past year that we all played and we all loved. And it doesn't feel like it is,
No.
because you have that bit at the end where Jeff reads off 3 or 4 rapid fire awards, giving them no time to breathe and no time to be acknowledged and celebrated. It's just all in service of getting to the next trailer for the next big reveal, or the next commercial break with Nintendo Switch ads and Game Pass ads and Epic Game Store and Stadia and Luna. And it's just like, I understand it's over at the end of the day. It's a business. It has to make money, but it's that's not even the problem I really have. It's just that he spends too much time on the trailers and the world premieres and the new things, and not enough on the things that we're supposed to be there celebrating. And I feel like every year he's getting further and further from where he wants to be, and he doesn't realize it.
Yeah.
And it would also help, and I know this probably wouldn't happen, but as it stands, what is the percentage? Like player votes only count for like 10% for the
Yeah,
actual awards. They need
something
to
like
they
that.
need to involve the actual gaming community more in the selection of nominees. They need to have a bigger role in the actual outcomes. Like it needs to actually engage. Like we were talking about those sub communities, like the fighting game community, the RTS community. Like I have a feeling things would look a lot different if more of those players had a say. Because let's be real, like I was talking about earlier, journal biases. I don't think there are a lot of games journalists that are heavy into those spheres. I'm not
Yeah,
saying there are
there's
none, but
definitely like a bubble that
yeah,
this game award feels like it's just kind of like mixing in, and it feels like it's not branching out enough in the way that it should to represent video games as a whole.
Yeah, I mean, ultimately, I feel like a big part of the problem, comes down to um, video games take longer to get through than movies, than albums, than so many other things, right? Like, we can't expect like everyone in the jury to have played every single game that's nominated for every single award, because it's just impossible. No one has that amount of time on top of a full-time job. Even people that play video games for a living, which it's not what they do. But
Yeah.
that's kind of the issue, right? And I don't disagree with having to involve the communities more. I definitely agree with that. It's just there's not really an easy way to do that. And that isn't even the main problem to me. It's just that there's too much of a focus on making this like another E3, when this isn't another E3, and it shouldn't be trying to be.
Yeah.
But anyway, any final thoughts before we wrap up? Because we got to wrap up.
Nope.
nope.
All right.
I'm glad Deathloop didn't win.
I'm glad. Yeah. Again, I'm so happy It Takes Two won, and I'm so happy Best Score in Music went to Nier. I'm so happy that Final Fantasy XIV finally got its dues on its 2 categories that it's nominated for every year. Happy for everyone that won, and overall, like, not a terrible showcase.
Yeah.
But anyway, yeah. Uh, you normally will reap the spoils. Normally we do a monthly spoiler cast. So you should, if you went and listened to this just to hear three idiots talk about the Game Awards, you should stay tuned for our monthly spoiler cast that we do. The next game that we're doing is Mass Effect.
Oh
We're
yeah.
doing the first Mass Effect. So you could play that on the Legendary Edition, or you could play the original Mass Effect. And yeah, we're going to talk about Mass Effect in January. So yeah, if you listen to this on YouTube, subscribe to the channel, leave us a comment, let us know what your favorite game of the year was. And also let us know how much Metroid Dread sold. maybe I'll throw in like a little comment somewhere in the editing phase if I fact check it or feel bothered to fact check it. Yeah, if you listen to this and if you listen on YouTube, be sure to like the video, share it with your friends, share it with your family, share it with your pets, whatever. If you listen on Apple Podcasts, give us rate it and review the show, 5 stars preferred. Tell us what you like, tell us what you don't like. Share the show again with whoever, whatever. Just we just want to get this out there. We want to be heard.
Yep.
If you want to follow us on Twitter, you can follow me at Nibelheimi, and you can follow Delaila at Assassina_San.
Yes.
Okay. And we didn't get to talk about plugs. Delaila
It's
streams
all
on
right.
Twitch.
You'll find out on Twitter if you follow
Oh
me.
yeah, that's fair. Yeah, go watch Delilah streams. They're a lot of fun. I jump in when I
Thank you.
can. You can follow Jason on Twitter at SolidQuaz, but don't follow him. He doesn't do anything on Twitter.
I don't even know if it
think
still exists. Yeah.
Yeah, it still exists. It's
Oh,
still
okay.
there. Yeah, your picture with the Biggie wax doll is still there. But
Oh
yeah,
yeah, the New York Waxman. Yeah,
yeah. From I'm guessing that's Madame Tussauds or whatever.
yeah.
Anyway, yeah. Follow us on Twitter, and thanks for listening to the show. And see you next time.
Bye.
Bye, everybody.